everyone, and welcome to today's episode of It's Our House podcast. You've got me, Faz. We've got the return of Chris with his blonde hair. How are you, buddy?
Decided to show up this week. Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. We've got Mr. Lawson. How are you, pal?
I'm all good, guys. How are we today?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you very much. And today we've got the king of the no ring, the artist behind the art of deathmatch, and the hipster heartthrob, Casanova Valentine. Welcome, my friend.
The Bushwick Antichrist, the scum of the underground, the creator, the originator of the no-ring deathmatch, the hipster heartthrob, Casanova Valentine. My girlfriend's gonna hate this because she hates when I wear a hat. Is here on the It's Our House podcast, and let's get fucking nuts.
Oh, I love it. Welcome, buddy. Welcome.
That was bad. That was better than
That
ours.
was good. I like that. Cass, just so you know, by the way, it's now just after 6 o'clock in the UK because you were kind of questioning that earlier on in the promo.
What's that? Say 6 o'clock?
It's 6 o'clock here because you were questioning that earlier on.
Oh, yeah, I know. I do. I'm like, 1 p.m. America time. Whatever UK time.
All right. Well, we'll start really with the first question that we ask most guests who come on. What is your first memory of wrestling, Cass, when you were a kid?
Can I just say before we get started is I went to go get a cup of water and I'm upstairs at my parents' house and I couldn't find a cup and I found like the smallest cup. like this is all I could find. I was like, oh, I gotta get some water. This is all I could find. Like a cup of this small cup. I feel like Andre the Giant right now. My first memories of wrestling, I can honestly say that my very first memory of life, like the very first memory I have is Papa Shango, believe it or not. Like the first thing I remember, like if I had to close my eyes and think of the very first thing I remember is I saw seeing Papa Shango on TV, which is a little concerning because I was born in '86, so my first memory isn't until I was 6, which is with 92 when Papa. So I wish I remembered a little bit more. I don't remember anything until I was 6. But my very first memory is Papa Shango and like his skull face. So I can't remember a time that wrestling wasn't in my life because it's literally my first memory. It's always been with me, even when I stopped watching for a little bit. You know, like when I went to college, when Cena and Edge were the top guys, I dropped out for a little bit. But you know, I was always still rewatching my old VHS tapes, and no matter what's been going on in my life, wrestling's always been a constant for me.
Cool. So with Papa Shango being your first memory, were you more of a WWE guy then, or did you watch WCW at all? Were you aware of what was going on there?
I watched everything I could. I preferred WWF over WCW, but I still liked a lot of WCW. I still like, to this day, there's nothing I love more than like mid-card WCW, like Tank Abbott and like Mortis and Glacier. I like like everyone always usually talks about the Eddie Guerrero and all the light heavyweights, you know. But for me, I liked like the tough guy, weird mid card that they had. It was always like Mortis. What was the guy? Lightning Flynn. It wasn't Jerry Flynn, Jerry Lynn, but they always had like these weird tough guy mid card, and I used to love that shit. But I was always WWF over WCW, and then at like 10 or 11, I discovered ECW, and ECW is what I remember. I can swear and stuff, right?
Yeah, please.
I think I already cussed already, so sorry out the window. ECW is what blew my fucking mind. Like I remember my older brother was one of my older brothers. There's a whole bunch of us. One of my older brothers was babysitting me. He was cool. He like let me stay up, you know. And ECW was on at 2 a.m, and I live in New York, so the local channel's MSG, Madison Square Garden Network, and ECW came on, and it was Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio, Tijuana Deathmatch, and I remember just being blown away because I'm so used to watching WWF, which is big and fun and kind of, and this was like dirty and scary. And at 10, I was like, what the fuck? And so it's basically ECW's fault for who I am today. I probably wouldn't be rolling in barbed wire and doing half the shit I did if ECW did it. Get me at a young, vulnerable age, you know. So I blame ECW, but yeah, I loved everything though. I always consumed whatever I could. You know, I'm 34, so I'm a little older than a lot of the guys on the indies now, and so it wasn't like now you have IWTV, you can watch indies, and you can just. It wasn't like that for me. Like I had to literally physically trade tapes to get AAA Mexico or FMW. I had to physically trade like physical things, you know. So now it must be so awesome as a kid because you can watch all the indies. You can literally go on IWTV and watch all the indies, you know. Yeah. So it was a little harder to follow then, but anything I could get my hands on, I loved.
I think with indies just now, I don't think it's been as popular since WWF kind of took over the whole, you know, whole different markets they've had. Because indies right now are huge, and like you're saying, it's great to see so much publicity for what they can do. So it's a case of like, you know, for what you're doing, it's easy to see it nowadays. So everyone can kind of get. It's not just going to be either WCW or WWF, and maybe possibly ECW. You've got a whole variety now of things to watch, and for me as a wrestling fan, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a weird time. Well, there's pros and cons. Like, so right now, I feel like the indies is the biggest it's ever been, right?
Yes.
Because you could watch like everything. You watch top to bottom. You can watch all the indies possible at a click of a finger. But also, I don't think it's as big as money. Like, if you go back and watch ECW. Like they were selling out the ECW arena. This is before they were considered top three. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were still doing huge shows. Whereas, you know, it's probably, you know, it's different there than here. But here, you know, even GCW isn't doing like the ECW arena monthly. You know what I mean? It's interesting what's changed. Not counting COVID and shit, but like, you know, the shows aren't as big, but they're easier to find. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting the pros and cons. So before it was all just live gate, you know, live show. And now, you know, you could go to a show and there's only like 100 people there, but everyone in the world can see it. So it's definitely interesting. I don't know what the numbers are, what's different and stuff, but you know, like I'm still doing shows, but there's not a ton of people there. Well, there's a decent amount of people there, but more people can see it. So I don't know what the back end is, but I remember watching ECW and just being like, that's a lot of fucking people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like that, and that was an indie for a while. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. I think it's definitely a good time for fans though, because you could watch indies in Chicago or LA. You know, you don't have to physically seek it out. You know, it's not like it was.
We're UK and we can see it just as much as you can over there.
You can see all the dumb shit we're doing over here.
So, like, if it was that hard to get into it and find it just to watch it as a kid or as you were growing up, how hard was it to get into this side of wrestling? How hard was it to get into deathmatch wrestling? Because obviously you got wrestling schools that are the traditional kinds of schools, but how did you actually physically find your way into being a wrestler?
Okay, so that's another thing is if I would have known what I knew now, I would have never went to college and I would have gone to wrestling school at 19, 18, you know, had I known what I knew now. But, you know, living here at the time, you know, it's different now, but it was like, go to college. And then I was like, maybe after college, you know, but I horribly failed out of college. Shocking. Oh, Casanova Valentine doesn't have a college degree. I know it's really hard to. That's going to be the most shocking thing you hear all day. But I failed out of school and I didn't really have life direction. And like, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler, but I really didn't know about how to go about it. Like I knew about the Wild Samoan Wrestling School in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I was always thinking about maybe going there because Kidman and Batista came from there and plus off the Wild Samoans, you know. And
our good friend Ron Hunt came from there.
Oh yeah. So that was always in the back of my mind, but I didn't really know how to go about it. I failed out of school. I started bouncing clubs because I'm a big guy, and so I was bouncing all these different clubs. I ended up dating a girl, moving to New York, and it was really hard for me. It was a bad time in my life. We broke up. She's like, "You're a loser. You're just a bouncer. you're taking me down. Basically, the breakup that happened in Happy Gilmore, you know, when he's like gets dumped. That basically happened to me. She's like, you're a loser. But the thing is, even though that sucked at the time, I'm really thankful for it because it made me go, you know what? Yeah, I'm just bouncing clubs. What the fuck? Why? I've always loved pro wrestling. I always thought about being a pro wrestler, and it was like enough oomph for me to go for it. You know, a lot of people always think about wrestling. Oh, maybe I'll do that. You know, and I was like, so upset. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. You don't know me. You know what I mean? So I looked up wrestling schools, and it was weird because I lived in New York, and I ended up training at NYWC, which is New York Wrestling Connection in Deer Park, Long Island. When I was trained by Alex Reynolds, who's in AEW. I was trained by Tony Nese, who is, you know, in the cruiserweight division, and you know, WWE. But it was Mikey Whipwreck's school from ECW. So I trained at like a legitimate school. Mike Mondo from the Spirit Squad came from there. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins. So legitimate people came from my school, and it's a legit school. And I'm so glad I went there because they taught you fundamentals. There's so many guys I watch on the indies who they just do fucking moves, and like there's no rhyme or reason. They hit like reverse Rana and a Canadian Destroyer, and I'm not. Who am I? I fight people in bars. I'm not telling anyone what is and isn't wrestling. You know what I mean? I'm not Jim Cornetting. I literally roll in glass. You know what I mean? But it's nice to see something make sense. You know what I mean? Or you build towards something, or you know. So I'm very thankful for NYWC for building the fundamental skills and psychology for me, because I think that even though I do deathmatch, and if you just watch deathmatch and you don't really, if you just watch my match, you're like, oh, he's hacking and slashing, but anyone can swing a light tube. Not everyone can tell a story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I still like to build towards stuff, tease things, come back to things, and I got that skill from NYWC. So even though I'm sure Nese and Reynolds probably don't, you know, they're not hype up the death match, I'm sure, but I still use a lot of their teachings, even with the style that I do. You know what I mean? So I think going to wrestling school and all that's very important. For me, I had a different path to get to deathmatch. Like, I went to wrestling school. I started at like 26 or 25. And so I went to wrestling school, and I always wanted to get into like hardcore wrestling. That was the goal, you know. At least maybe not deathmatch, but I always wanted to be an ECW style, like Balls Mahoney kind of guy. So even before I did death, I was kind of known as like the New York street fight guy. Anytime there was like a hardcore match in New York, I'd usually be kind of the guy in it. But I didn't start doing deathmatch until I started doing my own. My very first death match, besides backyard wrestling as a kid, all my poor friends I beat up. You know, the first death match I ever did was the first death match I did in a bar, because it was my own show. I'll get into that a little bit. So basically, I hadn't wrestled on indies for a year. I kind of was like, all right, I did wrestling, it filled the void, but I don't know if that's what I'm gonna do for my life. But basically, I closed that chapter. I wanted to be a wrestler. I did it, and I was happy with it. And then I booked an art show at this gallery space, and I was doing portraits of famous dead wrestlers. I did like basically Dark Side of the Wrestling, the art show, you know, before, you know. So I did all these portraits of like Bruiser Brody and all these famous dead wrestlers, Owen Hart, and I was trying to think of what else to do for the art show, and I decided I'd wrestle someone in the gallery as like a performance art. So it wasn't bullshit. It wasn't some kind of legal loophole I thought of, you know, it literally was an art show, and then I did a death match there. So it wasn't like I started doing hardcore wrestling and started hitting up death match promotions to get in. Basically, I just started doing my own death matches, and then hardcore promotions, death match promotions approached me, you know. So I had a kind of a different way in, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't seek them out. I mean, I probably wanted to eventually, but it just so happened that I started doing my own underground thing that picked up, and then they approached me. Like CZW came to me, Hardcore Hustle, Matt Tremont's promotion came to me. And what I was going to say real quick, like, I was known as the hardcore guy in New York, but it's because in New York, the commission's very strict. Like, to run a show in New York, you have to have an ambulance on call, show insurance, show license. You're looking at the building rental. You're looking at $3,000 before you even did anything. And it's almost impossible because New York City is so just expensive to exist anyway. That's why there's not tons of indies in New York. There's a couple, but they run like in the middle of nowhere. They say New York City, but they run like
on the outside,
45 minutes away from the city, you know?
Yeah,
because it's just unsustainable. So I started doing the no ring bar shows, and because I do them as performance art, the commission can't fuck with me because it's not a wrestling show. There's not even a fucking ring. You know what I mean? Like, so I've been running underground Fight Club shows since 2016. So, and thank God I did, because it resurged my career. I was basically on my way out. I was like, I did it. It was fun. And then I started doing these, got popular, and then my whole life turned around, and now I have a whole career again. So
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you've
I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No,
No.
Listen, you're doing our job for us. It's all good.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
You picked the wrong one, you know?
It's all good. You obviously had your Vice documentary, which we'll come to in a later part of the show. But you did say that you originally were more of not traditional, but you know what I mean, a more of a way of wrestling that we kind of think of, and then you moved on to deathmatch. You kind of touched about it slightly, but was there something that you just went, that's it, that's what I want to do, rather than being from your four squared circle?
Well, for me, it's like I made the conscious decision where, and I'm still on this path, is I want to be the one or two hardcore guys in a TV promotion. Like, I want to be the Abyss on Impact. I want to be the Moxley, or I want to be the McFoley. As like, I love doing deathmatch, and I'm going to continue to do deathmatch, but I'm not trying to do underground deathmatch shows into my 40s. What I want to do is, because I think I have fundamental understanding of wrestling, and I think I can cut a really good promo, and I could convey a character. I would love to be the one guy on MLW who does deathmatch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, to be like, you know, and I don't have to do it all the time. I can work regular matches, but basically I'm on the John Moxley McFoley program, whereas I'm doing the deathmatch. I honestly enjoy deathmatch, but I'm using it to get my name out there, to travel, and hopefully open doors that probably wouldn't be open for me if I didn't. But when push comes to shove, I actually can wrestle. I actually can do a character. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Totally,
I'm hoping to segue this into TV, and that's my goal, is to get on TV. Like, I love doing deathmatch, but I'm not trying to fight in a field, for $300. You know, till I'm an old man. You know, I'd like to take the next step.
It's as you said, isn't it? It's the you took your break, and it was the fire that lit it back for you. And using that fire, now you want to push it into the mainstream, as you said, take yourself into.
Yeah, if I didn't take another step, I think I would be disappointed. And especially right now, there's AEW, there's MLW, there's Impact. There's just so many avenues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can't make it onto some type of TV, I would be like, the biggest indie wrestling's been, I can't get anywhere. You know, I would be a little disappointed, but I'm hoping I hope I can break through to that other side. Deathmatch has allowed me to do a lot of things. Here's the thing, and I'll be honest, realistically, when you're a normal wrestler, you have to present something extremely unique or be extremely good in the ring to travel, because why would they fly you across the country if they have local guys that can do what you do? You have to bring something truly unique. Like in America, we had Danhausen, such a unique character. You fly him in, or you get these really, you got Danhausen, you got Effie, you got Warhorse, you got these guys that present something very unique. For me, coming up, I used to wear pink boots, and I really did the hipster heartthrob. I had slicked hair, and I was like, I eat vegan, and I'm a Brooklyn hipster. And I really pushed it. But for me, it's like, I'm a good wrestler. But I know my strong suits and my weaknesses. I'm decent in the ring, but my strong suit is my charisma and connecting the fans and interacting with, with the people. Grab a hold. But to take that next step, I knew that deathmatch, because only so many people do deathmatch. There's probably 50 deathmatch wrestlers in America. You know what I mean? Or at least really good ones, you know? So I knew that it would be something that would open doors, that me being a normal in-ring wrestler, I was doing the Northeast, but it kind of fast-tracked me to break out more. You know what I mean? Basically, it's like, if someone came up to me and they go, hey, would you roll in glass and barbed wire to travel the world? I go, yeah, I think I would do that. You know, it's like, so like, I'm very lucky. I've done Canada, a lot of Canada. I go to the UK for Rise Underground. I actually was their heavyweight champion for a while. And I've gone to Australia. And when COVID's up, I can't say too much. When COVID's up, I'm going to be going to Japan and back to Australia. So
awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah, I'll roll in some glass. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, you know, I was just a bouncer in New York. Yeah, you know, so what the fuck? Why not? You know, I got nothing to lose.
Who would you say is your deathmatch icon? So like obviously the main suspect I would be thinking would be John Zandig, but like, is there someone that you've looked up to and thought, shit, that's who I want to be, or that's or who is it you want to, you know?
I'll give you a couple things. One is Bruiser Brody is who I basically try to be Bruiser Brody if he was fatter and lived in Brooklyn, you know. I try to like convey his kind of craziness and kind of like, you don't know what he's going to do, unpredictability a little bit, and just kind of like the intensity of Bruiser Brody. Another thing that I think is very funny is, as a kid, I would trade tapes, and I got FMW tapes, right? And I used to love Masato Tanaka and Hayabusa. Loved them. And I hated Mr. Pogo. Because Mr. Pogo was just a fat guy stabbing people. And I remember being a kid, being like, what the fuck? This fat guy just stabs people, and Hayabusa and Masato Tanaka put in all this fucking work. But now, at 34 as a deathmatch wrestler, I like to just stab people, and I don't like to do anything. So I've come full circle on, yeah, why don't I just stab the guy? It's a break, you know? So I'm going to come around on my Mr. Pogo. I think for me, Bruiser Brody is definitely a huge influence. As a kid, I was the biggest Sabu fan of all time. But, you know, my style, I'm self-aware of what I look like and what my style is. And I kind of wish more wrestlers were like that. There's some wrestlers that look a certain way and they're trying to cram in all the fucking moves. And I'm like, why are you doing, like, look at you. You don't look like a guy who does ranas and shit. Yeah, I kind of wish, like, when you watch Tajiri or Cesaro, they have a moveset that they only do, you know? Think of it like a fighting game, okay? You could be Dalsim, you could be Zangief. It's like everyone wants to be Ken and Ryu, regardless of what they look like.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I don't want to see Ken versus Ryu every fucking match. You know, like, give me some different, do something different. Have a unique moveset that's unique to you that only you do. You know, I don't know. I just wish there was more variety. I feel like a lot of indie wrestling does what is over, but if you're over, whatever you do doesn't matter. Like, look at Mick Foley. He did a double arm and DDT, elbow off the apron. He had his own moves, but they're over because he was over. You know, I feel like a lot of guys on the indies do moves that pops the crowd, but they're not necessarily popping for you. Like,
it's like you said, everyone does a Canadian Destroyer, don't they? Everyone does a Canadian Destroyer these days.
Basically, for America indies, the only person I like doing a Destroyer is John Wayne Murdoch. I don't know if you watch some American Deathmatch, but he's been using that as his finish for like 15 years, and he builds towards it, and it's the finish. Yeah. Like, he's the only guy that when he does it, I go, he does it. Everyone knows, fuck off. You know, like, you know, and it also deflates it. Like, if you're hitting the Destroyers all card and he goes up in the main event and he keeps building towards a building, you kind of took the wind out of his sails, you know? And I wish more guys, like, when I get to a show, I ask, what's your finish? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you guys are working the arm the whole match? Okay, we're not going to do that. What's your finish? Oh, the cutoff is a low blow. Okay, we won't do that. You know, I wish more indie shows, I don't know, at least the ones that I see would at least have an agent there to be like, this is their match, this is their match, this is their match. What are you doing? What's oh, you're going to have your manager interfere? Maybe you don't do that. Just to have card continuity, because I know we live in a time where it's like, you know, I'm gonna say GIFs. I'm gonna say it wrong. GIFs, whatever. GIFs.
GIFs.
You know, we live in a time when you just see the cool fucking moves. But if you're a fan, you watch the show top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like I saw an indie show recently where there was the same finish 2 matches in a row, and it was like a unique, weird finish. You know, it was like, how did you guys not talk? You know, like that seems like you need to know that shit. You know.
Yeah, I get that. We've seen it loads of times where, like, halfway through like a pay-per-view, they've, I don't know, like Raw now, in fact, I think, or WWE now, they're kind of, you know, the whole Nia Jax thing where she's putting Lana through a table.
Yeah.
Then the table reappears, and then, you know, Drew McIntyre's getting put through a table in the same episode. It's like, well, that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And roll-ups as well.
We've
seen that a lot recently. Just amazing match, ends with a roll-up. Amazing match, ends with a roll-up. There were like 4 roll-ups on last week's Raw, I think it was. It just gets a bit, okay, that again. Right.
And also, I keep in mind that I'm very self-aware that, you know, you got guys like Cornette or any of these old school guys that probably would fucking hate me if they knew me. You know,
right, Chris, we've got our own Cornette. Chris, he thinks he's his own.
This guy's garbage. He has no respect for business. You know,
that sounds right.
That's not wrestling.
That's upset to DMs.
You know, but you know, I still, for me, I think of it like this. Okay, this is because you know, there's different types of wrestling. There's comedy wrestling. There's everything. There's a place for everything. And this is my analogy: is if you just do tons of moves just to do moves, you listen. It's at the end of the day, it's fucking entertainment. If you're watching it and you're entertained, they did their job. You know. So here's how I think: if you do lots of crazy moves just to do moves, and it's move, I personally consider that sports entertainment. Okay, but if you consider wrestling a craft, an absolute art form, and you his knacks, you know, you're working his knacks, so you use a cavat, and you keep working the knack, and you build towards it, and then he powers out of something, but he can't do something because knack, and you build and you use psychology. I consider it a craft. So that's where I stand, you know, and they each have their own place. Who am I? You know, I'm not on TV and I fight in bars, you know, so who am I to fucking say anything, you know? But in my opinion, it's sports entertainment's all the cool shit and it's fun. It's like a video game. I won't lie. I love some of that shit sometimes, you know, just boom, 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 you know? But if I love watching a Bockwinkel match, dude, fucking Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I love watching them they're artists. They're fucking, it's art. Like, no one can tell me differently. It is fucking artwork. You know, it is one of the purest forms of folk storytelling there is, you know? So I love it as an art, you know, from our artist side. I have always considered Casanova Valentine my performance art project and wait for my illustration and shit. So that's just where I stand on it.
Cass, I'm gonna say a sentence that I never thought I was gonna say in my life, but I want to go back to you stabbing people.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Not like New Jack, because not like New Jack.
Yeah, not like that.
Well, like, there's an element of risk in all wrestling, whether it's traditional or deathmatch, whatever it might be. Any promotion, you go in there with the other guy's life in your hands, essentially, having to look after each other. So obviously, with deathmatch wrestling, there's even more of an element of risk because of the stuff that you guys are doing. So This is sort of like a 2-part question, but what's the worst injury that you've ever sustained or the worst injury you've ever inflicted on somebody? And are there any sort of like precautions in place or any processes, any ways that you go about sort of choreographing your match to try and minimize injuries? Or is it just one of those things where it's like, we're in it, we're doing what we do?
Here's the thing with death matches. You got to think of it as percentages. The more glass, the higher the percentage of getting hurt is, you know? So basically, we're just gambling, you know, because there's some things can just happen, you know, and you can be totally fully trained and know your shit. Everyone gets bad cuts sometimes, you know, and the key is it's still a work. We're still helping each other, and we're all, at the end of the day, it's a tight-knit community. We're all friends. None of us want to get hurt. None of us want to hurt each other. The goal is to minimize our cuts and to get through it. And you know what? I know it's fucking crazy. I know it's crazy. You know, like it's nuts. We just, you know, we really think about it. It's like, I'm gonna go in this barbed wire cage and mutilate my friends. You know, it is fucking nuts.
We do that once a week.
Yeah, but for me, I was raised watching deathmatch or hardcore wrestling. It's all I've ever wanted to do, and I know that the risk is worth the reward because I know when I pay for a house from wrestling, that every cut, every broken bone was worth doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I know my way is different than other people's way, you know? Like other people, they have a great body or a great look, or they bring something unique. I know that what I will be able to bring when push comes to shove and I get an opportunity to try to go somewhere is I'm willing to do anything to be here. Like people question, how can you question a deathmatch wrestler's commitment to wrestling? Oh, he's junky. He doesn't. No, I'm willing to crawl on glass and barbed wire because I love this so much. You know, like how dare you question my commitment? I'll take my head up and finish a match and wrestle 3 more in a deathmatch tournament. So, like, anyone that questions any deathmatch wrestler's love for wrestling, they can really fuck off. Because if anything, I'm actually getting hurt. You know, anytime I do a normal match, it's almost a night off. Oh, I don't have to put a gusset, like you see the gusset in my head right now. I don't have to fucking get gussets and lit on fire. Oh, you know, so, you know, we have extreme passion for wrestling. I would say the worst injuries I've had is I've been pro wrestling for like, let's see, around 8 or 9 years, give or take. I started at 25 or 26. It's hard to, I've had 6 broken ribs in 8 years. So I've almost never gone a full year without a broken rib. And it sucks because it's always the same thing. He's big and fat. I'm a little guy. I can give him a stomp. And I can't. And I hate to, I know it looks like I'm made out of Jello, but I have bones in me. And it's fucking, I literally, when I wrestle people now, I literally have a list. I go, no sentons, no double stomps, no splashes with me on the ground. I literally have a no, and that's my list. It's not no pile drivers. It's literally because what happens is when you're working a match, it's like I don't know how much you know, but it's not completely choreographed. It's not like a waltz, move for move. A lot of it we're just fucking vibing. We're just figuring it out. You're like, oh, what the fuck do you want to do? Drop down leapfrog, hip toss patter out. Something, we'll figure it out. Cut me off. Like we kind of just rolling. So a lot of times in the match, like unannounced, the guy will just fucking senton me, and I'm just like, you motherfucker. Like I can't do it. I can't do it. So I'm down to punch. I'm down to get power bombed. I'm down. If you can pick me up, I'm down. If you watch my matches, I'm all about brawling, walking, talking, not calling too much, and just having fucking fights. But it's always the little guys jumping on me. If you look on my Instagram, I have injuries as one of my things you can click through. I have every one of my injuries listed, and you watch. It's always guys sentoning me, just snapping my fucking ribs. Like, so my worst injury is that. I had another bad injury. I wrestled Big fucking Joe from the UK, and we did an over-ring death match Halloween night 2 years ago, I think in Leeds, and he got these dirty fucking light tubes. I don't know where the fuck he got these tubes. I remember looking at him like, someone gonna wash those off? He's like, oh yeah. It just never happened. And one went into my arm somewhere over here. I don't remember where the cut is. But I got a really bad infection in my arm. So I think I was in Leeds. I had to take a bus from Leeds to London. It was like 6 hours or something like that. And then fly home. And by the time I got to America, my arm was like double the size, and I was like, oh, I need to go to the fucking hospital. It's weird for me is like, so I've been a doorman in New York since I was like 17, 18, right? Years ago, this is a real story. Years ago, I got in a fight and I got stabbed all the way through my face with a 10-inch kitchen knife. during a brawl. And that's the worst thing. The worst thing I've ever had wasn't even wrestling, was that. And but what's crazy is not that I'm not that I'm the toughest guy in the world. The guy wasn't a big guy. You know, I beat the shit out of him. But the pain was so immense because I got infected. That all this glass and barbed wire and shit, like, not trying to ruin it all hurts. But after getting stabbed in the face, man, glass and barbed wire, I don't mind at all. You know what I mean? It's not that doesn't hurt. I just know how much hurt I can physically feel. You know what I mean? Like, my gauge has gone higher. Like, I used to think this was pain, but now I'm aware of what pain is. You know, I had a festering stab in the face. So, not that I'm superhuman, you know, but my understanding is bigger now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, don't get stabbed in the face. Casanova Valentine says, don't get stabbed in the face.
We'll clip that one out. That's for Twitter.
I'll give you a t-shirt.
That's my PSA. Hey, kids, Casanova Valentine here. Just to remind you, never get stabbed in the face. Avoid it at all costs.
Going on then about the artwork that you just discussed. I mean, from what I've seen, the artwork you have is really, the Owen Hart one, especially for me, I just think is so cool.
Thanks, man.
It's really
I sold
cool.
that one for a lot of money, so I like that one.
Well, this was where I was going with it. I mean, how have you sold any to like a mainstream wrestling audience, or is it like, where is it you sell it to?
I sell it to everybody. One of what's weird right now is I have a whole side income where I don't know how much of my stuff you guys have watched or haven't watched, but I do a thing called the Stinger. It's a boxing glove wrapped in barbed wire.
Mm-hmm.
And after shows, I sign them and sell them.
Right.
So I'm like doing this whole, like, you know, I'm selling off actual match used weapons and stuff now. I had a guy I did a Taipei death match with, you know, the broken glass on the tape fist.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up. This guy showed up with a Ziploc bag to the match. And he was like, $80, can I buy your wraps? Yeah, you sick fuck. I'm just like, I was just going to throw them out. But I do a lot of like illustration. I do a lot of like big scale murals. I haven't been doing as much art lately just because the wrestling has really taken off. But I'd like to get back into it more. If you go, so I wrestle for like promotions. I do normal ring promotions, but I do my own underground shows. And all those underground shows I draw the flyers myself. So any of the flyers from all the death matches in York, even the flyers for the ones I did in Australia, I draw those. Anytime it's a Casanova Valentine no ring show, I drew the flyer. So it's just another thing I like to do. It's like complete do it yourself. You know, I make the flyer, I book the camera guys, I get the weapons, I book the venue, and it's, for me, like, I consider wrestling art. And for me, I feel truly as an artist when I do a no-ring show, because it's all me. When I wrestle for a promotion, I'm at the, I have to do what the promoter wants, and, and that's fine. I like to do it, whatever they want. Oh, you want this? You want to wrap up? Oh, you want this? You want me to cheat to build a feud or whatever, But when it's the bar fight, I have complete creative control, and it's just very, I make the flyers and I fucking do everything, I book the undercard. For me, it's just very satisfying, like, it's just, I do other stuff. I wrestle for other promotions. I loved it, but I finally get to do what I want to do when it's my show, So it feels good. But I'm going to start selling more prints and stuff. I have a American shirt merch store. I have a European one set up. And I want to start doing one that's all just prints and stickers and shit like that. So hopefully I'll be on soon.
Gotta say, mate, you're very, very talented. Very talented, especially.
Thank you, man.
What we saw on the Vice documentary, which we'll go into later. The artwork that you've got up there was fantastic. So
that means a lot to me. Thank you.
The Owen Hart one just blew me. I was like, man, that was minted. I would have that on the wall. You know what I mean? That
he bought it. Stuart bought it.
Those things are big. They're like 30. They're huge. Fuck. I got some artwork in my garage, but we'll stay up here. I'd show you some stuff, but it's
another time.
Another time.
So moving on, as you said, about the artwork and the death match that has come from that. Have you had? I know you obviously said how you get around the legal issues now, especially in New York. But have you had any legal issues? Obviously, you don't need to go if you won or lost.
Well,
or
I don't know
anything
if you
like
saw.
that.
I don't know if you saw the election night match I did. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Okay, so I did a match on election night here in the States, and it wasn't my show. It was these two street artists, famous New York street artists that I'm friends with, and they booked an election night show. They asked me to do a wrestling match at the show, right? And New York is very fucked with COVID. I don't know how fucked you guys are, but New York is fucked. Like we're locked the fuck down.
You're doing really well over there. You keep it going. We're not
Yeah.
we're not quite there yet. We're okay.
Oh man, we're so fucked. Bars close at 10 o'clock. You can't have more than 10 people at your house. It's very locked the fuck down, which is being in the States is very weird. Because I'll go wrestle in Florida and it's lawless. It's like Mardi Gras. I was wearing a mask and people were making fun of me. I'm like, this shit's never going to go away, dude. Like, fuck. You know, like, because I wrestle.
Gotta love Florida.
Yeah, Florida's
You gotta love Florida.
Wild West, dude. But I just wrestled in Florida and it was like, who gives a fuck? And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? You know, people are literally, my Uber driver literally made fun of me for wearing my mask in the Uber. He's like, you don't need that. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I don't know, dude. America's fucked. America's so fucked. I don't know. So depending on where you go, it's what was the original question?
Have you suffered any legal issues from any of your matches?
So I did a match on election night. I wrestled a local guy named Flawless Blake Morris, who came from my school. He's actually way more veteran than me. He actually helped train me a little bit. He's a great guy. And I just wanted to work someone local because it wasn't a paid show. It wasn't my show. There was no cover. So I was like, hey, his real name's Jason. Like, Jason, you want to come work with me on election night? It's a small show. It's just to do it. Because I hadn't done a no-ring show since February because COVID. You know, I was like, yo, we'll just do it. And what happened is the owner of the gallery asked me to take the match outside. And I go, I don't know. I will if you want me to. You know, but I don't know if that's such a good idea. He's like, no, I'll be sick. We'll open up the garage door. You guys take it outside. So basically, I take the match outside, and he's beating me up against a car. And some girl filmed it from her apartment building. Thought it was like some Amphida riot. You know, like, oh, there's riots happening. They're beating a man in the street because of election. And so it went viral. It like went huge. And the New York Post, which is a huge newspaper in New York, covered it like street fighting in the streets. What's happening? You know, and then they, the sheriffs came, like the police came. They didn't shut the show down. When I finished the match, everything was cool. And then they came back later on and closed the because we did like an after hours there just for the people that and they closed down. It was no big deal. But then they fined the owner of the gallery $15,000.
Jesus.
And it wasn't for the fighting. It was because he had too many people inside because of COVID restrictions. Wow. So I have the match. I'll send it to you guys in DMs, but I'm waiting to post it till the court case is over because I'm not trying to. But the thing with that show is it wasn't my show. That those people would have been there with or without me. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's why I didn't get pinched on it. But it was a little hairy because the whole New York Post article is just about me and the underground fighting. And the Casanova Valentine does these underground shows. And I was like, hey, I really don't need that kind of fucking attention. Maybe they will. But I think I honestly think, I know it sounds intimidating, $15,000, like I got fined, but I think it's going to get thrown out because even the cops were like, it's probably going to get thrown out. Yeah. And it wasn't really that crazy. It wasn't like there's 1,000 people in there. Everyone had a mask on. It's just New York State sucks. And anytime they can juice you, they will, you know what I mean? It has more to do with them juicing you and being a dick than to the spread of COVID. They're just assholes, so. Yeah. So that's the closest I've been to getting in trouble. I did a show in New Orleans through a guy named Dom, who's a good friend of mine, who's a promoter. He does like thrash music, grindcore shit. And so I do my no rings in Brooklyn, but I also travel the country doing them. And I've done them in LA, Vegas, New Orleans, Jersey, Australia, the UK. Like sometimes I'll, you know, not even with the promotion, I travel and just do them, you know? Like I know a lot of bands and I'll just go on tour with them. So we went to go do a show in New Orleans with my buddy. He helped put it together, and it was going to be at this bar called Poor Boys. And the day before, all these wrestling vets from New Orleans are like, we don't want that death match wrestling in our state. So they snitched and called the commission, and they threatened their liquor license. So then day of the show, we moved the show to a warehouse, and the owner of the warehouse was like, absolutely not. And then, so I'll send you guys the match. It's me and Marcus Crane. It got moved to behind a skate park between the railroad tracks. We lit a fire. We got this guy to bring a generator out and had the bands play. And then I fought Marcus Crane around a campfire. And the weirdest shit, but you know what? It ended up being the best video because the video is great. It's like,
I was going to say, that would be,
sounds good.
That would be awesome looking like. That would be proper underground looking like.
Oh, it's the most underground thing you could possibly be. Like and the thing is, we still made all the money because we just passed a hat around, and everyone's so like punk rock and awesome that they still all paid, even though it was outdoors. There's no way I could really enforce, hey, you can't watch the show. You know what I mean? Like, hey. And the best was we're trying to find the new venue, and like, fuck, I'm like, we're all here. What the fuck? Let's just do it somewhere, you know? And Dom, who's my friend, he's very soft-spoken. He's like, yeah, I think we'll do it behind the skate park. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome. What's that like? He's like, well, a guy just got murdered there last week, but I think we're good now. I was like, what the fuck? Like, so it's literally a skate park. A guy got like blown away like a week ago. Yeah, so that's kind of dumb shit I'm doing with my life.
Awesome. I want to talk about CZW because I've been a fan for them for years.
CZW.
And deathmatch, the deathmatch tournament that they have is for me like a bucket list to go to. It's just like in the middle of. I'm right in saying it's in the middle of someone's actual garden. It's the
well. Here's the thing: is that used to be in Delaware at one of the owner's parents' house.
Oh, wow,
but all American Deathmatch is like this, dude. It's always like, you know, like right now I do ICW, and ICW their bloodshed shows, their pit fighter shows. They're literally in an MMA cage in a barn in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey. Like I live in New York, next to New Jersey. And like, where the fuck is Midville, New Jersey? I have no fucking clue. Like, and I live, you know, like I'm like, what the fuck? And like wrestling is so weird. Like American Indies, I'll say this, and I you know, currently you gotta do what you have to do because of COVID and shit. But the reason why my bar shows were so successful is every indie always runs like the middle of fucking nowhere in some like brightly lit gymnasium, you know? And it's like, I can't get my normal human being friends. I'm like, hey guys, Saturday night, you want to carpool 2 hours to go to West Islip Gymnasium and watch 8 matches of guys doing the same shit? And then like, by the time we get home, all the bars are going to be closed. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I can't get my normal friends. I can only get my super indie, you know? So when I started doing the shows just at bars where people were already at, I'm like, hey, this is a bar that's popular. Why don't I just try to pull teeth to get people to come to the middle of nowhere, just run where motherfuckers already are? Oh, that's a novel idea. You know, like, so that's why I had so much success, because it was already ingrained in Brooklyn nightlife. I just booked a couple Brooklyn punk bands, and it was, you know, it was already there. That's why, like I love deathmatch, but like, you know, like, okay, give you an idea. I used to wrestle from a promotion called VOW, Vicious Outcast Wrestling. And I drive all this fucking way to get to West Virginia, and I'm wrestling. It's a middle school that's abandoned, but the cafeteria is still open because it's like Fox's Pizza Den. So it's like a pizzeria in an abandoned middle school. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? like the weirdest shit. You know what I mean? Like some of these places that we wrestle and go to, you know, you can't even make it up, you know? So yeah, CZW Tournament Death was always in Delaware. And now they moved it to New Jersey. I've been in the last 2 tournaments of death, but CZW, I don't know what's going on with them. I've heard rumors and stuff about what's going to happen with them, but as of now, they're not running. You know, it's a lot of promotions aren't risking it. There's some basically in America, all deathmatch like GCW and ICW, which are the two primary deathmatch promotions now that CZW isn't running, are the top two. You know, but yeah, a lot of things are on hold because of COVID, and I don't know what's going on with CZW. You know.
With the CCW, because I'm actually Vice done I know I'm right, because Vice done a documentary on them as well, about their death matches, and it was a cool documentary. But what's it like backstage in that in those environments? You know, because obviously there's lots of you there, there's a lot of blood. You know, the crowds of what I've seen they're crazy, man. They're so enthusiastic of what's going on. How does it feel to go into it, not just once, could be twice, could be 3 times in one day, you know, and obviously you'd be paying for the first one, let alone the second and third.
Yeah, when I won the Rise Underground UK tournament, and I had to win 3 in a row, you know, and that's why, like, normal wrestling, when did they ever make you do 3 in a row? Like deathmatch, okay, so deathmatch wrestling, there's Tournament of Death, there's Tournament of Survival, there's Nick Gage Invitational. There is the Saint 8. There's like a lot of the IWA King of the Deathmatch tournament. There's probably around like 15 deathmatch tournaments in the States. There's probably more than that, you know, but some of them are bigger name ones, you know. So as a deathmatch wrestler, you want to get in as many tournaments as you can because it's like a thing. I think Tremont's won like 9 or 10 deathmatch tournaments. That's fucking brutal. Like to win IWA King of the Deathmatch this year, you had to win 1 match night 1 and then 3 matches night 2. That's fucking, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. So basically, when I do deathmatch tournaments, the goal is this. Don't get so fucked up that I can't drink tonight. That's my rule of thumb.
It's a good goal. It's a good goal.
Don't get so fucked up. Sometimes you just can't. You're just so obliterated, you know, and you just like, you lost so much blood and you go take me back to the fucking hotel, dude. You know what I mean? I'm gonna right to sleep. So that it depends. For the shows, the goal is no one wants to get hurt. There was a show I did recently where lots of people got hurt, got bad cuts, batch to match, and the vibe was very fucking weird because we're about to go out like fuck, all right, just be fucking safe, you know, like, you know, you know, it's a weird feeling. Deathmatch is really weird. It's, you know, we're all friends for the most part, you know, so it's like keep in mind, you know, the storylines like, oh, you hate these, but you know, you're on the road, you know, there's only so many deathmatch wrestlers, so like I see Schlack and Marcus Crane and John Wayne Murdoch on every show, basically. You know what I mean? So we're all cool with each other. But the vibe is, let's not get too hurt. I remember, okay, want to hear something funny? Okay, so I said VOW, right? The one in West Virginia. We love doing that one, even though it's in the middle of nowhere, because there's a really sweet strip bar we go to. It's called Little Vegas, okay? And the reason why we love Little Vegas is that, first of all, we're in West Virginia. We're in the middle of fucking nowhere. But the strip club there, it used to be a Pizza Hut. So it looks like a Pizza Hut. And it's also an active car wash. So there's a car wash during the day on the side. And a lot of people don't know this, but Casanova Valentine's high school job was a Pizza Hut. So I walk in and go, oh, that's where the dough gets made with lap dances. Like, I know my way around the fucking building, you know? But we always love going there because the owner is like this old retired bodybuilder who loves us, and we drink basically for free, and it's like lawless, and we have fun, you know? So let me paint the picture. It's me, Marcus Crane, Jeff Cannonball, and Schlack in a 4-way barbed wire cage, okay? So we're in a barbed wire cage match where it's wood and barbed wire. We're in the middle of Virginia. It's fucking like shindy as fuck, you know? And we're gouging each other up. And the whole show is running late. And Marcus Crane says to me, take it home. We got to get to Little Vegas. So we literally cut the main event barbed wire cage short so that we could get to the strip club in time. So like we're doing this main event barbed wire cage. Like, roll me up. They're gonna close in 2 hours. We got at least get there, you know, good shots, you know. So wrestling's a really weird time, you know.
Right, so I've been looking forward to asking this. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, as everybody knows him, MJF. You wrestled MJF back in 2018, Wrestlers Laboratory. What was it like wrestling MJF? What was he like as a guy? Obviously, he's one of the biggest names in wrestling at the moment. Did you envisage that for him? Did you know then that he was going to be a big name?
People don't. So okay, in New York State, there's the New York Wrestling Connection, which is the school I came from, right? And then Kurt Hawkins and a guy named Pat Buck. Pat Buck is now like, he's on TV for WWE as like a backstage guy. He's the redhead guy. I don't know if you've seen him. He's been on TV a lot lately. Pat Buck and Kurt Hawkins made their own school called Creative Pro, also in Long Island. Okay, so they're basically two guys that came from my school and now are, you know, big name guys and made their own school. You know, so Creative Pro they used to run a promotion called Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Now they run Creative Pro, which is their school, and they produce a lot of good people. And MJF came from Creative Pro, and he's like their big, like their biggest guys came from there. But there's been other good guys I've been coming from Creative Pro. If you were a young guy in the New York area now, you would want to go to Creative Pro because Pat Buck's an agent on WWE. Kurt Hawkins is he on Impact now, or
yeah?
But there's like legitimate places, you know, they have a direct tie to play, you know. So I actually wrestled MJF in a 6-man tag when he was like 6 months in, and this was so random. There used to be a promotion called Fiber Wrestling in New York, and I had taken a little time off wrestling. I can't remember why. I was like, okay, I'm taking a little personal time off, and I hadn't wrestled in like a little while. And the promoter was like, when you're ready to come back, just let me know. You always have home here. And I hit him up. I go, hey, I saw that this is like years ago. I don't even know how long ago this is. I have the link to the match on my YouTube. I can give you guys if you want to post it. But I hit the promoter up and I go, hey man, I saw that you're running a show on August 20th. That's my birthday. I'd love to be on that show and make my comeback for that show. That'd be great. He goes, yeah, man, absolutely. Totally cool. And as the show got closer and closer, they didn't advertise me in any matches or anything. And this was a promotion like I had like feuds at, and I was like a known guy at, you know, so it was kind of weird. And then when I got to the venue, he like with the promoters acting weird with me, and they're like, yeah, he said that you weren't booked. Like I heard you weren't booked, you just showed up. I was like, what are you talking? I literally hit him up. Like I would never do that, you know. It was like, I don't know, there's a miscommunication or like someone else got the message, you know, through the promote. I don't know. Yeah. All I know is he stuck me in the Creative Pro student showcase. So it's a 6-man tag with Pat Buck, MJF, and all students and me, who wasn't a student there. So I went from like being in all these storylines of this promotion to just being like in the opening student showcase match that made no fucking sense. It was very weird. But I was like, whatever, fuck it, you know. So MJF was on the other team, and at the time he was trying to put like a spear he wanted to make a spear his finish. He goes, can you do me a favor when I hit you my spear? Can you really put it over? I was like, oh, dude, yeah, I'll Dolph Ziggler the fuck out of that spear, you know. So, you know, listen. Here's the thing about wrestling: you always got to be glad about what you did or who you were cool with. Because I took that spear like a motherfucker, and it's a great sell. I really nailed it. And then we wrestled again at Wrestle Lab, and he was just like, oh man, I just want to thank you again for selling my spear when I was 6 months in. I'm like, yeah, well, the least I can do. It's kind of funny is I don't chain wrestle that often. I know this is shocking. I am the bar fight guy, but he wanted to start out with like a little bit of chaining, and he wanted to do lock up, wrist lock, and then like I roll through. And I was like, wait, can we go through that? Because how do you want me to roll through? And he was just giving me a little shit. He's like, you don't know how to do a fucking wrist lock? I'm like, no, I know how to do a wrist lock. I just don't know. So I think we had a really good match at Wrestle Lab. I was really happy with it. I was pretty good. I thought it was a really good match. We told just a story, you know. He worked my hands, spit in my face, you know, like it was. I really liked it. But I saw him at an MLW taping in New York. I was up there watching it. He comes on me. He's like, Casanova, so good to see you. You know how to do that wrist lock yet? was really funny. But MJF's a super nice guy. He's super young, you know, but he's always been good. That's the thing is pro wrestling. There's no right or wrong path. You know, like you got MJF. He's charismatic and can go, and he doesn't do anything too crazy. He just came from a really good school with good fundamentals and just a solid, like he used to do flips over the rope, but he doesn't even need to do that shit anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got a good base. Yeah. And he came from a good school and he got noticed right away. But I feel like a lot of vets get discouraged or like, oh, I've been in this business 15 years. Blah, blah. I was like, no one owes you anything. Like, it's up to you to get over. MJF had the right people and he knew how to work and he got where he got at 23 or whatever, you know, and good, God bless him, you know. But that should discourage other guys. Like I'm 34, but I still think, you know, what's the name? Punishment Rodriguez didn't get signed until 36. You know, there's no right or wrong way. And also, you never know what the promotion's looking for or not looking for. You know, sometimes I'm like in WWE, I'm like, I'll never get an NXT contract. There's no way. You got all these jacked, amazing guys that don't get it. You know, and then I'm like, well, they signed Blue Meanie. You know, so you never know what the fuck they're looking for or not looking for. You know what I mean? It depends on what void, like my trainer, Tony Nese, should have been WWE 10 years ago. He's incredible. Tony Nese is the best wrestler I've ever seen in person, you know? But they had guys like Neville and tons of other guys that could kind of fill that void. And even though he was insanely good, you know, the spot was kind of already there. You know what I mean? So it has nothing to do with your skill. It really doesn't. You have to be skillful so when the call comes, you can go. But it's arbitrary. You know, it's up to what the promoters want. You know, like MJF has a good look, and they wanted it, and then, you know, God bless him. You know, so it's kind of how it goes. You know, but MJF, I could tell, was very good. I think most of the guys in the Northeast are proud because he came. We all know him because, you know, he's from one of the local guys. You know. So it's cool. It gives a lot of guys hope. AEW's been doing a good job. They had Puff on. They had Kevin Blackwood. They're putting a lot of different people getting opportunities. So it doesn't seem too out of touch. You know, it seems like it's realistic. Feels like any guy busting his ass on the Indies is probably could be on AEW Dark any week in a week.
Yeah,
you know, so it seems attainable. You know, so. I hope it happens, you know. I hope more guys keep coming up. And you know what? Even if I don't come up yet, the more people go up, the more spot there is for me on the Indies before I come up. So whatever, you know. I think Chuck Taylor had a good one. He's like, I finally got signed because everyone better than me finally got signed. And then I'm still here, baby, and I'm still all right, you know, like so. So yeah, even, you know, we'll see what happens.
Excellent. So we discussed it briefly, the Vice documentary that you had. It's an awesome documentary. So anyone who's not seen it, check it out. It really does. There's a lot of interesting points that you make on it. There's a lot of interesting things that you say in it as well, and all about the arts form as well. What have you seen change since that documentary came out? Has it affected you in a positive way? I hope so.
Yeah, that Vice documentary, I'm very thankful, helped breaking me out. You know, I got very lucky. I was doing these underground bar shows in New York, and they're getting really popular. And then Deadspin did an article about the underground bar shows. I was very lucky. I don't know if you saw it, but I had Chuck Taylor versus Zack Sabre Jr. open for me. Yeah. Like, that's fucking insane. Like, how did I get that?
Awesome.
You know, I just had
awesome.
I had mutual friends with Zack Sabre, and he was living in New York, and like the fact that it helped blow me up. You know what I mean? It made me go from all the local vets were like, that's backyard garbage, that's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And just being a local guy doing these underground shows to really like being like, okay, well, fucking two of the most famous wrestlers did it. And since then, think how crazy this is. I started doing the No Ring Death Match in Brooklyn 2016. Since then, there's Time Bomb in North Dakota, no ring promotion. There's No Peace Underground, which is a promotion I helped found in Florida. And there's like a handful of other no ring promotion that are only no ring shows. Like full, I think Good Wrestling in the UK did a no ring show. They ignored my tweets though. They're like, no sold it, but like it's like a whole universal thing now. You know, like it's And the thing is, I'm not pumping my own dick, but like people can say what they want about me or they don't like me, but it's undeniable that I got no ring shows popular, and now it's a fucking thing. Like, it's not even weird to be, oh, it's a no ring show. You know what I mean? So, the fact that I can influence modern pro wrestling is pretty cool. You know what I mean? And I'm very lucky for that Vice documentary to help get my name out there. I just had mutual friends. I had a friend of a friend who worked there. And I remember making a Facebook post being like, who do I got to talk to get this on Vice? This is so Vice. Like, can I, like, and fucking a friend made a call and got me on. And what's crazy about that is I didn't know how I would look because they filmed it for so long ago. It came out literally like 6-7 months after the filming, right? And the Department of Vice that recorded it, like, went defunct, and they closed that branch of Vice. I can't remember what branch it was going to be through. So it was like in production limbo, and I thought it would never come out, you know? And then it just one day it just came out. No warning, just, you know? And I got my phone went nuts, and I was bouncing at other half, but I also used to deliver kegs. So I was like on the truck delivering kegs of beer, and got all these phone calls about it. And we pulled over and I watched it, and I fucking wept like a baby. I don't even know where they got the photos of me as a kid. Like, they like deep dived my Facebook because I didn't give it to them, you know? And like the clips of me wrestling in high school, I didn't give those to them, you know? So they deep dived my social media and found that shit. So and also I forgot what I had said. It had been so long, you know? Yeah. So like, I forgot I talked about my grandfather and stuff. I totally forgot. It was so long ago, and I was so nervous. I didn't remember what I said. I was like, blah, 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 you know? So it was very humbling, and like, just to have them tell my story in a positive way. They could have easily made me look like a dick. Yeah. You know?
It was
they
really,
like, you don't know. They could have been like, look at this fucking self-absorbed asshole. He can't get booked, so he makes his own little fucking play fights. What a fucking fat asshole. You know, they could have easily dunked on me. You know, so the fact that they showed me in a positive light, and they really just did right by me, and I'm forever grateful for that, because, you know, I didn't know how it would turn out. You know, the risk of doing, especially in the world we live in now with any kind of shit, I'm like, this is either going to propel my career or completely bury it. Yeah. You know, I was so nervous to put yourself out there, to even just go out there and do a wrestling match is already nerve-wracking. The amount of balls it takes to go out there and wrestle. And of course, everyone wants to heckle, you know, and to be so good that everyone shuts the fuck up, and to command the room, and to cut a promo, and to get people, even naysayers, get lost in the match. Even the guy who's like, no, I fucking hate this shit. And before he knows, he's like, 1, 2, oh, you know, to be able to do that, to work that craft, and to win people over, it's insanely hard to take that risk, and to put your body on the line, your mental health on the line, and to just fucking go for it. It's a feeling a lot of people will be online talking shit. It's like, dude, you couldn't do what we do. Like, to go to wrestling school for a year and a half, to be treated like shit, to have them tell you to quit every day, to have people talk about your body every time. You go out there like, he's fat, he looks like this, he looks, you know, to risk everything. I risk my health every single fucking time I go out there, you know, and then to have Vice do a documentary on me, I don't know how they're going to show me, you know, it's fucking horrifying. You know, I don't know. Are they going to dunk on me? They're going to talk about like what an idiot I am. You know, I don't know, you know, so it's a colossal amount of stress and balls, you know, like it's just a lot, you know. I've taken so many risks, and sometimes, you know, this might not work out, this one might, you know, and I was lucky that the Vice thing worked out for me, and I'm so thankful. Since that Vice documentary, I've done no rings in Australia. I've done no rings in the UK. I was just a local wrestler in New York. I wrestled Philly, New York, Jersey for years. And I was able to break out and become an international wrestler. And now you and me all of us are talking right now because of that Vice documentary. Yeah, I would have never met you. I would have just been a local bumpkin just doing fucking armory shows, you know. So
that's amazing.
Thank God, you know.
It came out really positive, and it really showed. Like I say, I've been a Deathmatch fan for years, and it showed in a different light, and you know, in a positive light as well. And that's something that they've done really, really well. And you should be proud of what you did.
Thanks,
in
man.
That documentary as well.
It opened a lot of eyes, didn't it? Changed a lot of points of view, I think.
Totally, 100%, 100%.
So
that's the thing is like, I'm sorry, what?
No, it's great. Go on, carry on.
It's like here's an example. Like outside looking in, I'm sure if a guy like Jim Cornette just saw what I do on the surface, would fucking hate me. He would fucking hate me, you know? But if he would have sat down and talked with me, I'd be like, I love fucking Ox Baker. I love Bruiser Brody. I love Blackjack Mulligan. I consider this a craft. And he probably wouldn't be what he thinks I am. You know what I mean? Like on the surface, you think, oh, I'm just this bad. I just fucking swing tubes at a bar, you know, but it's not that, you know. It's easy to make a first impression and see what you think, but to really get to know what I consider what this is to me and as an art, you know.
But from what I would say in that scenario is you've got your traditional wrestling and all that kind of stuff, but then you've also got like lucha libre. That's a different type of wrestling entirely. You've got hardcore wrestling. You've got deathmatch wrestling. It's still telling a story. You said this at the very start. You tell a story throughout the match, and in theory, that is just what wrestling is. It is a story. You know, you're doing it a slightly different way. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're still giving the audience the same kind of, you know, from start to finish is what you would traditionally.
And you gotta know that it's not going to be for everyone. Like, if me and my mom are watching movies, she's like, "What movie do you want to watch?" I'm not going to be like Cannibal Holocaust. You know, my mom's not going to watch Cannibal fucking Holocaust. You know, what I do is like the extreme metal version of wrestling. You know, you just got to know. The thing is, there's tons of music I don't like. There's tons of there's styles of wrestling I don't like, but I don't negate it from being wrestling. Or you know what I mean? Like a fucking. Just because you don't like country music doesn't mean country music isn't a valid type of music. You know what I mean? Although I do love old school country. I love old school country. But you know what I mean? Like, and that's why it seems so short-sighted when people are like, that's not wrestling. It's like, motherfucker, it's all wrestling. And you can just, you know, who are you to tell me what is and isn't, what does it constitute, you know? Can you imagine like a photorealistic artist who does like still lifes is like, Jackson Pollock's not an artist, he just splatters paint. It's like, it's all art, asshole, fuck off, you know. Like, so it's just a different flavor, you know. It's just a like there's still a guy, the Greek god Demetrius Papadon is a local New York wrestler who's very talented, and he always uses an analogy. It's a circus. He's like, there's clowns, there's a lion tamer, there's a strong man, there's different types, you know. Fill in what you are. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that gets eaten by the lion, basically.
It's our favorite word, isn't it? Subjective. That's the whole business, the whole industry. It's subjective. Like, I didn't like Lana and Lashley's wedding. I didn't like that whole storyline. Like 4 million people on YouTube did.
Yeah,
you know,
I love that shit.
Who am I to say that those 4 million people are wrong? You know.
You didn't mention New Day. I don't mention New Day there.
I don't demand that everyone likes what I do. I don't have the ego to be like, this is wrestling. It's like, hey, if you don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to like it. You know, there's plenty of things in life I don't like. You know what I mean? But I also don't go into like a book club and go, this book fucking sucks. You know, I you know what I mean? Like,
you should turn it into a match while you're there.
Yeah, right. Like, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like wrestling is so polarizing where some fans are so like, it's like, ease up. Also, like, there's been comedy wrestling, there's been intergender wrestling. The world of sports had comedy wrestling how long? You know what I mean? Definitely. Like, there's always been elements. You had Gorgeous George back in the day. You have the Exoticas. You've always had different unique things. You know, like, to think that, also, dude, fucking deathmatch. In the 80s, there was, dude, Terry Funk wrestled, Terry Funk wrestled Tully Blanchard in a barbed wire ladder match. No one talks about that shit. Fucking
Abdullah the Butcher done it for years.
Yeah, Puerto Rico had barbed wire matches. Don't get mad at me because you hate deathmatch. Get mad at yourself for not knowing wrestling history. I didn't make up deathmatch. It wasn't like my brain. Hey guys, you know, like, it's been going on forever. Like, the barbed wire matches, fucking, you know, they've existed forever. Texas Deathmatch.
Japan were huge. Like, Japan, remember when '95, wasn't it, when Terry Funk and Cactus Jack had the ladder match, no rope barbed wire with.
Yeah, no rope barbed wire in Japan. Yeah.
That was an awesome match, by the way.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's always, like, if you go back and look at old wrestling magazines, everyone's got color. That used to be the shit. Dusty Rhodes, fucking
Ric Flair.
Baron Van Rusky, Dick the Brute, the Destroyer. They're covered in blood. It used to be cool. For me, I feel like I'm more of a throwback, even though I use glass. The thing is, like it's like anything. It gets more, like, now modern wrestling has more super kicks and flips and blah, 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 blah. Like anything goes with time. Deathmatch started out with just a barbed wire match, you know? And as it got on, it got a little bit more. I'm just a product of my times. You know, I live in 2020. I'm a deathmatch wrestler. I consider myself more of a throwback guy, but I think I'm bringing it more back to the violent, tough fighting. Like, the last match I had with Satu Jin in ICW, it's a brutal fucking fight. Nothing about that is wrestling. Everything about that is a fist fight. I finished the match by knocking him out with a barbed wire boxing glove on. If anything, that's like the most Ox Baker shit ever. You know what I mean? Like, just hacking at it. You know what I mean? I didn't fucking reverse, you know, you do this, I dropped out. You know, we didn't do any of that shit. So if anything, you would think they like that more. Like, dude, these guys are just, you know, don't you want to watch two scary looking guys punch each other in the face? I don't know. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, as you said, with the pandemic going on at the moment, and only Florida seeming to be the one to host any events, what does the future look like for yourself? What are your goals going forward?
Well, here's what's going on: is I did shows in Indiana, Jersey, where Indiana is now closed up. I think Florida. I'm wrestling December 13th in Orlando. For No Peace, which is a no ring promotion I helped found, and I'm doing ICW still. And I think I'm wrestling Alex Ocean next month. So basically, I just with COVID and everything, I'm just, whenever I get a call, you know what I mean. If you're gonna fly me out to your outlaw state, I'll do it. You know what I mean? So I'm just, basically what I'm doing is I'm biding my time till COVID's done, because I have a lot of big plans with my own no ring shows. I call my shows, it's under the banner New Fear City. I want to run my own underground shows again in New York once we can. You know, it's really an uncertain time, but basically my long-term goal is when the world's back and this shit is finally passed, I'm gonna get hot. I'm doing my underground shows again. I'd like to try to sell all my back footage to like some kind of show, like Roku TV or something, like Netflix, if I can, because that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I own all my fucking matches. You know what I mean? I was going on Roku TV the other day, and they have old CZW matches on, all this weird shit. Why don't I get my shit on? You know, so you know, I have a big library of all my stuff. I have, you know, I edit all my matches, so maybe sell some footage. But my big goal is to take the step to TV. I think, you know, I could be in better shape. I'm working on that, but I think that's the natural progression. Like, I know when the COVID's done, I'm going to be wrestling in Japan and Australia, so I know that's locked. I mean, it could change, you know, who knows? But as of now, I'm acting as if it's still happening. So that's off my bucket list. My last thing on my bucket list is Japan and TV. So I know Japan's going to happen, so that leaves TV. And I just want to go for it. I got nothing to lose. Why not? You know, and I think I offer enough to do it. You know, I'll be the one guy that takes the big stupid bump in the 5-way scramble. You know, fuck it. I don't give a shit. Just get me on TV. 6 months. I don't give a fuck. Even if it's 6 months and I get let go, I would feel very vindicated if I could finish my career knowing I was on TV. I know it doesn't matter, and I know there's lots of venues with independent wrestling, and I get it, and I'm an artist too, and I consider myself art, but man, it would really be nice just so I can say I had that level of success.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. We'll see.
Awesome. Who
knows?
Well, we've got nothing but faith. Nothing but faith.
Yeah. And when you're over in the UK, hit us up, because we need to come and see it.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I wrestled for Rise. I know that when I come back, do you guys ever watch Rise? Are you familiar with Rise?
Yeah.
Yeah, familiar with Rise, yeah.
I know that there's a promotion in Belgium I'm going to wrestle for when I come back over. But yeah, I'd love to do other promotions. I'd love to do TNT. I've had some talks with some places, but yeah, I can't wait to come back over. I was actually supposed to come over. I was in Australia in March, and I was supposed to come home, do ICW one pay-per-view, then fly to the UK and do the second Games of Death tournament in Leeds. So fuck, I was supposed to be back, So I have a trip back once the world's up. So hopefully I'll be back. I'll buy you guys beers on cast.
Awesome, that's great, man. Thank you.
Hey.
That's it.
Get a pint on cast.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Cass. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Is there anything you want to push? Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I'll push a couple things. If you go to my Twitter, I'll send you links. I have a pro wrestling t-shirt shop. I think I have some of the coolest merch possible, actually. I see some wrestlers say they got good merch. Your merch sucks. My merch rules. I've got a ton of shirts. I've got every design I've ever done is available on my pro wrestling tee shop. I think there's 30% off to the 30th still. So is today the 29th?
Yeah, tomorrow.
I think you have like one more day to get 40% off in Casanova Valentine merch. Also, I'll send you a link, but shirtsatdeath.com is my European store that they sell a couple of my designs. So if you're, in the UK or over there and you don't want to pay $1 million for shipping, have a guy over there that will print my shirts. So you can get American shirts at prowrestlingtees.com. My Instagram is MC Deathbear. I know it doesn't make sense, but I used to be a known street artist, spray painting, and that's why I do my art as MC Deathbear. But Casanova Valentine has just got more famous than MC Deathbear and kind of overtook that. But my Instagram is MC Deathbear. If you want to see clips, I post everything, bunch of dumb shit, but it's all original content. If you go to Smart Mark, I have the best of 2019 DVD or download. I don't know a lot of people own DVDs anymore, but you can download it. It's my 16 best matches from 2019. And my Twitter is Casanova Val 666. Follow me on Twitter. And you know what? Bother MLW. Say hey. Book Cass. Just do it. Fuck it.
I'll tag them. I'm going to tag them on this, by the way.
Give them one of these. Hey, you. Book Cass. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I know I talk a million years.
No, man, thank you.
We'd love to have you back on once everything dies down. So we'd love to have you back on.
Once the world eases up, and I know I have a return date for the UK, I'll come on. We'll push whatever show that is. And guys, come out. If you want, you could do a on location.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Do one of these.
Yeah, even better. During the match.
Yeah.
We'll do an interview.
All right, guys. Thank you so very much. I really fucking appreciate it. I had a blast. Thanks so much for reaching out.
Cheers, thank you for your time, mate. Thank you.
Take care, man.
All right, I'm gonna leave the call. All right.
Cool, man.
Cheers, bud.
All right, peace.
Well, that was awesome. That was good, wasn't it?
I say this every week. Say it every week, but that was.
I know.
That was
Every
better than the
last week.
The week before.
You never said it last week.
Oh no, I didn't actually. No.
No, it was great. Obviously, for those who were on the YouTube, my webcam decided to die as we started this. So you haven't seen my face today, but you've seen these two handsome Eminem-looking mother folks. I love it. So
Stuart inspires me.
Lawson, do you want to mention who next week's guest?
Yeah, so next week we have an ICW legend, not the ICW that Cass was on about, the ICW that we've got here in the UK. Casey Owens is going to be on, the former ICW Women's Champion. Really excited about that. She's got a lot of things to talk about. Fantastic person in the ring, fantastic person in general, to be honest. So really looking forward to that episode next week with Casey. Yeah,
awesome. So Chris, do you want to push your social media? Anything else?
Yeah, I like a good push. At PWCDs, that's me on Twitter. Our official podcast Twitter is at It's Our House Pod. On Instagram, it's at It's Our House Podcast. Stuart?
For myself, it's at slawson1417, at slawson1417.
Awesome. And for me, it's at Faz's Thoughts. That's Fazzas Thoughts. And obviously, we've got It's Our House pod on every social media platform that exists. We're on YouTube. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on everything. We've also got a competition running at the moment. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, as always, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I'll see you all next week. Hopefully, you'll see my face. That'll be good.
So see you.
That'll be good. Take care, guys.
Take care.